Already hear the cries for Tannehill to be the starter over Mariota, can't you? Marky Billson here, Tri-City Sports Now. That shouldn't happen, but I'll tell you what about that. I'll tell you, not initially, because Mariota still has more upside potential than Tannehill. Let's face that fact right there. I mean, we can discuss, who played better. We can discuss who the fans would want, because Mariota is kind of wearing out his welcome. And this is going to be make or break for Marcus Mariota and the Tennessee Titans. Let's face it. However, something else to consider here is just the upside potential. Now, Mariota continues to struggle. Maybe you do turn to Tannehill. I don't know. Then again, one of the things that happens in baseball that doesn't happen in football. Okay, there's always this thing in baseball where, and maybe a little bit less now because the bench is a little bit shorter, what with the big pitching staffs and all this, but there was always this sort of thing, why don't they play the young player when the veteran isn't getting the job done? And let's see what he's got. Now in baseball, yeah, you do that because where do you really see a baseball player? I mean, down on the farm perhaps, okay. Batting practice, what does that tell you? Batting practice. Boy, Mark McGwire can hit the ball a long way. Yeah, I think so can Bryce Harper, What does that tell you? Now, next question for you. This is what I want you to... Football, though, you've got practice. And unless you're Bobby Petrino, where you can't tell that Lamar Jackson is a better quarterback than Reggie Bonifant, or you're Randy Sanders and you can't tell that Austin Herink is better than Logan Marchi, I guess. Or you're Butch Jones and you're absolutely clueless as to whether or not Quentin Dormandy or, Jared Guarantano, but then again, I'm not convinced 100% that he didn't make the right decision initially. I mean, to be honest with you, I'm not a huge Guarantano fan. I'll tell you that right off. But still, in football, there's something called practice. And I remember having, covering football and all this, and like I told you yesterday, that one of the reasons I think Todd Wells doesn't really get the attention that he should as a great ETSU quarterback is there never was this big feeling that it was going to be his job. I mean, he's the ETSU all-time leader in total offense. At one time, he was the conference's all-time leader in total offense. Passing yards, running, that sort of thing. I may have caught a pass somewhere, I don't know. But, question. If you go back in the day, the thought was back when Jamie Chadwell, now the coach of Coastal Carolina, would be the starting quarterback back in the day. He got hurt, but I remember going to those ETSU practices and saying, that Wells is a better quarterback than Chadwell. And he proved it by being the starter for 4 years. I may have taken an injury to make him the starter, I'll give you that. But I think that, in time, Paul Hamilton chose the right guy. And it may have taken him that injury to choose the right guy, but he chose the right guy. Eventually stuck with Wells. I think there was one start at the end of the year, one year that Chadwell got the nod because of whatever reason, maybe injuries. I've forgotten exactly why. Maybe it was a courtesy to Chadwell. I don't remember, but, there was... Wells, there was always this feeling because Chadwell was supposed to be the heir apparent. Could it be Chadwell coming in? And I think that might be one of the reasons why Wells isn't as well remembered as he should be by ETSU fans. Also, it seems to me that fans around here have absolutely no appreciation of their sports history. My opinion. Then again, that might also be modern sports culture. But I think historically they had less than they should have appreciation. I mean, I remember last year when Furman came back, when ETSU came back against Furman, 21-point deficit. And we heard, this is the biggest come-from-behind victory in ETSU history since the program was restarted. Well, that's 4 years. What about the previous 70-odd years? Well, we're looking into that. You don't know? No, we're still trying to research it. And I mean, I went down to the SID office in a minute, and they're going through like every media guide they can find. Is this that had not been kept? I mean, that's sort of a record that you do put in the media guide, you know. Biggest come from behind victory. Of course, for years, I don't know if it still is this way, but for years, the basketball media guide at ETSU, biggest ETSU victory in history is a 68-point triumph against Warren Wilson back in, I think, 2000. They've got the score wrong of that game in the ETSU media guide. Just so you know. Or at least they used to. I mean, you know, you'd think the biggest victory in program history to get the score right on that one, but unfortunately. Anyhow, that's the case with that. Let me go and tell you during this week, Nathan Neihaus. I've been saying that for Tennessee, if everything goes wrong for them, probably 5-7, another losing record. If everything goes right, probably 8-4. Tennessee now is 2 in the everything is going wrong column. You know, they lost defensive lineman, Emmett Gooden earlier in the week, tore up his knee, he'll be out the whole year. He was the only DL with any experience whatsoever. On the offensive line, Nathan Neihaus earlier this week decided to quit. He tweeted Thursday that due to sustained injuries and the overlapping wear on my body, I've decided to retire from the game that has taken me places I never could have imagined. Jeremy Pruitt announced on Wednesday that Neihaus had decided to leave the team. He didn't specify the reason. Why not? What were you hiding? I do wonder. Now we've got one lineman out because the game is too rough on him. And he's not the only one. I mean, you know, there have been other linemen that for the same reasons why. And you just start wondering, what is Tennessee doing down there? Neihaus started 6 games at right guard, also played tackle for Tennessee as a sophomore last year. Offensive line couldn't lose these sort of people. Guess what is happening? So, this is not good for UT. I'm not picking them to lose to Georgia State, but still. I got Johnny Price. Says over or under 21 points Alabama beats Tennessee by this year. I'd go with I'd take Alabama in 21 right now. As it stands right now, I mean, don't come back to me the third, Saturday in October, which, by the way, in 2020 will be the 4th Saturday in October. But, yeah, right now I don't think so. You heard Matt Polly say that the Buccaneers got 9 on the preseason SoCon teams. They announced this on Thursday. The Bucs were led by Nasir Player. Everybody picking Player best defensive player in the Southern Conference. They like his size. People have been talking about the size of Player for some time now. I am sort of surprised, though, that Adrian Hope down at Furman with 15 sacks, or 14, depending on your stat keeping, is not decided. I mean, what about rushing the passer right there? That's pretty impressive. For that matter, Tyree Robinson is another player that I really think that could be considered the best in the SoCon, the safety that overcame the coach getting suspended on the way they treated his star. And you ran out a Hail Mary. We'll have none of that. Tell that to Glenn Edwards, end of Super Bowl 10. Anyhow, Nasir Player was tabbed by Phil Steele, Southern Conference Preseason Defensive Player of the Year, in addition to being named as the first team. It would have been a real story if he hadn't been named to the first team, if he was the preseason player of the year. Everyone picking preseason player of the year in the Southern Conference. Joining Player on the first team is redshirt sophomore running back Quay Holmes. Most people think he's the best RB in the SoCon. Redshirt senior defensive lineman Jason, and this is kind of interesting right there, but it is Madu Fakwa, senior defensive back Jeremy Lewis, and junior defensive back Tyree Robinson. All of those on Phil Steele's first team SoCon. 3 Buccaneers landed on the second team. Redshirt junior Blake Bachrath, junior DB Caron DeLanise, and in the box, grad student Jared Folks from, he's the Temple transferred Logan Marchie last year, and now he's playing in the box, usually linebacker for ETSU. So I've said it before, I'll say it again, I do think ETSU will have the best defense in the Southern Conference this year. If that is enough to carry them to SoCon title, well, I think it's enough to carry him to second. 29 media members voted in the preseason poll. Only 2 of them had the Buccaneers higher than I did. But yeah, they can get that quarterback situation. If Randy Sanders doesn't wait until the Appalachian State to name Weldon, Thrasher, somebody else, then the Buccaneers should be okay. And second place. Say that. Again, they're a lot more interesting this year than the Vols. What are the Vols? Maybe they'll go 7-5 into a minor bowl game. Maybe Music City Bowl. Tri-City Sports Now. Talk NFL after this.
Home of the Happy Box meal, featuring plentiful appetizers and rice around your choice of 20 mouth-watering Chinese dishes. Or try their Japanese fare, sushi, sashimi, and the grill. I had my birthday dinner at Asian House and was most satisfied. Find the great menu and deals at goasianhouse.com. Use Tom for catering. You'll be most satisfied, too. Asian House, nestled in the Shops on West Market on the way to Jonesboro. Mention 1420 WEMB Sports Radio and get 10% off.
This is what Flo from Progressive sounds like in one of our many hilarious commercials.
Hi, did you know that you can get a quote on your motorcycle insurance in under 3 minutes?